This is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather reporting from CBS News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. The deadlocked presidential election is still in limbo tonight. It could be more than a week, perhaps longer than that, before we know whether Texas Governor George Bush or Vice President Al Gore is the next president. Here's the latest. The official recount of the closely contested Florida vote tonight is not yet finished. What you see is Bush's lead, about 1,800 votes, with no new results released. That's the official tally. So far, only 53 of 67 Florida counties have reported in. And the new deadline set tonight for all counties to submit recounts is now next Tuesday. Deepening the confusion, this comes as county-by-county results tallied by news organizations indicate that Bush's lead over Gore in Florida has dwindled down into just a few hundred votes. This includes West Palm Beach, but a second recount begins there by hand on Saturday. Democrats have asked for a hand recount of some 2 million votes from 4 Florida counties, Palm Beach included, saying that there have been irregularities and that they were highly confusing ballots. Republicans counter, saying that Bush will win Florida and the election. Barring challenges in other states, Florida's 25 electoral votes may decide whether it is Bush or Gore who reaches the 270 electoral votes needed to win. CBS News correspondents are deployed to cover every angle of this story in Florida and at the Bush and Gore headquarters in Austin and Nashville. First to CBS's Byron Pitts on the late-breaking recount results from Florida. Byron, confusing situation.
Yes, Dan, no question about that. Florida election officials had hoped this would be a simple recount, but tonight it is clear the process has been bogged down by passions and politics.
Late this afternoon, Florida's Secretary of State spoke with reporters. Her work is far from over.
We will all remember these times as some of the most critical and defining moments in our nation's history.
For 2 days in all 67 counties, election workers had used machines to recount nearly 6 million votes. But this afternoon, the Gore campaign said they were not satisfied with allegations of ballot irregularities. Democrats monitoring the process called for a recount by hand in 4 Florida counties.
We've come to believe that there are serious and substantial irregularities resulting from the ballot used only in 1 county.
But this recount is no longer simply about arithmetic. Gore campaigners see it one way, the Bush team sees it another.
We would like to see this process carried out in a very transparent, open, deliberate way, as expeditiously as possible, of course, given the national interest.
With lawsuits already filed and others threatened, the Gore campaign is in no hurry. The president of the NAACP wrote to the U.S. Attorney General requesting she send federal marshals into Florida to oversee the recount. From Tallahassee and across the country, people literally wait and wonder, when will the rhetoric and this recount end? Nearly 1,000 students from Florida A&M University marched to the State House, refusing to leave until there's a statewide revote.
As for the Gore campaign's request for a recount by hand, that's up to the 4 counties in question. So this recount that was supposed to be done by 5 o'clock today, now it appears it will go on for at least another 8 days. Dan?
Byron Pitts. As we said, there will be a vote recount by hand in West Palm Beach starting Saturday. The Gore people say thousands of votes meant for Gore in that county went to Pat Buchanan or went uncounted because of confusion over completing the ballot and the decision of officials at the various precincts to throw out some ballots. CBS's Bobby Harley is there. Bobby?
Well, Dan, a bizarre day in West Palm Beach today. That hand count you mentioned will take at least 3 days. Results most likely not before Monday afternoon. That's the same day the Reverend Jesse Jackson has called for another massive protest, maybe even bigger than the one here today.
Palm Beach County's usually serene streets have become ground zero in the battle for the presidency. At issue is the Palm Beach ballot, known as a butterfly ballot, with candidate names on both sides, and the place to cast the vote square in the middle. Many of these voters say that caused them to mistakenly vote for Pat Buchanan, whose name was just to the right of Al Gore's.
I really don't know who I voted for. When I went into the, I may have voted for Pat Buchanan, who I did not want to vote for.
In fact, Buchanan's vote totals show him spiking in Palm Beach County as compared to Florida's other 66 counties. Democrats charge that it wasn't just a confusing ballot, it was an illegal one. Florida law states to, quote, mark the blank spot at the right of the name of the candidate for whom you desire to vote.
Florida law requires a specific sequencing and a specific structure on the ballot precisely to avoid the sort of extraordinary confusion that resulted in the disenfranchisement of thousands and thousands of voters.
One of those voters is Ron Lickman, who plans to file suit in state court asking for a new vote.
And it was extremely difficult to figure out, in fact, which way to vote. Once we placed your vote, it was too late.
Republicans say the ballot was approved by both parties and overseen by Teresa Lepore, the county election supervisor and a Democrat. This afternoon, as civil rights leader Jesse Jackson rallied a crowd outside, every vote counts. Lepore was bunkered behind closed doors, protected by police.
There's also anger here tonight over 19,000 ballots thrown out in Palm Beach County because voters chose more than one candidate for president. Democrats blame the confusing ballot and claim many of those votes were actually Gore votes. However, those votes will not be included in the recount. Dan?
Bobby Harley in West Palm Beach. Reform Party candidate Pat Buchanan said today he too believes most of the 3,000 votes he got in Palm Beach County were probably meant for Al Gore. And Buchanan said he thought it was due to, quote, ineptitude in the ballot design. With his lead holding, more or less, in the national popular vote totals, Vice President Al Gore is not giving up until there is a much closer look at the votes in Florida. And news from the Gore camp indicates that he's prepared to fight for at least another month. Gore campaign headquarters in Nashville keeps getting tuned up to more determination as the hours go by. CBS's John Roberts is there. John?
Dan, the Gore campaign says even if today's recount were more complete, it would change nothing for them. They are pinning their hopes for the presidency on a hand count of those disputed ballots. They believe that if they can win back even a fraction of them, the White House will be theirs.
If the will of the people is to prevail, Al Gore should be awarded a victory in Florida and be our next president.
Gore's challenge to the recount takes the country further into uncharted constitutional waters. But leading in the popular vote, the Gore campaign believes it has the moral high ground. And they are casting the Bush campaign as so hungry to win that they will ignore American voters.
In response to this clear injustice, what does the Bush campaign say? They blithely dismiss the disenfranchisement of thousands of Floridians as being the usual sort of mistake made at elections.
The vice president, hoping to remain above the fray, has refused to comment on his challenge to the vote. On a jog today, the first time he has left his hotel since election night, he wouldn't even say if he believes he won the election.
We're having a great run here.
His campaign had been prepared to file a lawsuit today challenging the Florida election in court, but shelved it in favor of the hand count. Those tactics have drawn fire from the Bush campaign for putting the presidency on hold and damaging the image of the United States on the international stage.
Let me assure you that the presidency goes on until January 20th in a vigorous way, and none of our allies are in any doubt as to who's in charge of the government until January 20th. There will be a new president then, but not before.
The vice president is heading back to Washington tonight to resume his official duties. His campaign operation here in Nashville will be dismantled, but a new committee will be created in its place to oversee the Florida dispute. Dan?
John Roberts in Nashville. There's a different view in Austin. We take you to the Bush campaign headquarters in Austin, Texas. CBS's Bill Whitaker is tracking the reaction and strategy there. Bill?
Dan, since election night, this Texas campaign has circled the wagons, gone on the... When top Bush aides came out today, they came out firing.
Bill Whitaker in Austin, we will get back to that report. We've had a technical difficulty, obviously. So we go back to Bill Whitaker's report with apologies to you.
Conference campaign chairman Don Evans accused the Gore camp of playing selfish politics with an election process Governor Bush has called sacred.
The Democrats who are politicizing and distorting these events risk doing so at the expense of our democracy.
Using blunt language, Chief Strategist Karl Rove claimed the number of spoiled ballots in Palm Beach County, Florida, and the high number of votes for Pat Buchanan there were not unusual. And those controversial, confusing butterfly ballots, similar to those used in the home county of Gore's chairman, Bill Daley.
And it's historically been used in Cook County, Illinois. Maybe Mr. Daley's in a better place to decry democracy and confusion in Cook County than he is in Florida.
The Bush camp wants to be seen as taking the high road.
The country should look at the way the two campaigns are approaching this. We have approached this in a calm, in a thoughtful, in a responsible way.
But behind the scenes, the Bush camp is playing hardball, threatening to challenge Democrats in Iowa, Wisconsin, and New Mexico, states where they claim voting irregularities helped Gore. For now, the campaign is putting that option on hold, calculating that all this political maneuvering makes the Democrats look desperate.
Our democratic process calls for a vote on Election Day. It does not call for us to continue voting until someone likes the outcome.
Now, just the same, the Bush campaign will decide next week whether to challenge the results in Wisconsin. They are prepared to fight, they say. The stakes are too high to do otherwise. Dan?
Bill Whitaker, let me emphasize for clarity that while in the unofficial press-attended recount in Florida, Bush's lead is down to as low as 300, maybe 400 votes. Bush, by everybody's account, still leads in the Florida recount. Now, there's little, if any, precedent to help guide the rival campaigns or election officials in this situation, but there are people out there with plenty of experience in handling the natural messiness of democracy, and Bob Schieffer's been talking with some of them today about where all this may be headed. Bob, what do they say?
Dan, I spent today talking to a lot of senior members of both the Republican and Democratic Party, people my own age, I guess would be one way to put it. And the message, the thing that they seem unanimous about is dial back on this partisan sniping that we just saw in both of those pieces, so much of that today. They're really worried about this somehow tainting the next presidency. One of the people I talked to was Bob Dole, who said, look, the next president, it's going to be hard enough as it is. If you start tying it up and suggesting there's some question about the legitimacy of the person that takes office, he said it will make it impossible to govern. These claims by the Gore people that they somehow have the moral high ground, or by the Bush people that they're somehow going to question elections in other parts of the country if the Gore people persist down in Florida. Their advice, these elder statesmen, is to just dial back on all of this. One person said to me today, once these votes are counted in Florida, once those famous absentee ballots are counted, whoever wins and whoever loses must remember their first responsibility is not to their party, not to their campaign staffs, but to the country, and they must act accordingly.
Bob Schieffer, thanks. Next on the CBS Evening News, it is not just Florida. Flaws in the balloting system are a national problem. And then later, a tough decision in a losing battle for the White House. But first, the public weighs in on this unique election of 2000.
And they should do a recount in all the states, because how do we know as a people that they didn't miscount in the other states?
Let's do it again and really watch it more carefully.
Tonight, CBS Evening News with Dan Rather is sponsored by Fidelity, all the experience, service, and technology to help you see yourself succeeding.
Excuse me, this is my cab.
I'm sorry.
Can we share a cab?
Why not?
You're with Fidelity.
That's right.
Let me ask you something. I still have a 401k from a job that I had 3 jobs ago. Can I move that?
Oh, most of the time, sure. It's called a rollover.
Really?
We can do all the paperwork, and you just sign and roll it into an IRA, and you can buy stocks or mutual funds, whatever you're comfortable with.
And I'd be in control of it?
Sure.
Get my life down to 1 sheet of paper.
To invest, call, click, or visit Fidelity.
Who says you can't share secrets with your grandson for years and years?
Who says you can't watch the waves break for many summers to come?
Pravachol says you can fight back against heart attack. If you have high cholesterol or heart disease,
and diet and exercise still aren't enough, adding Pravachol can make a difference. Other drugs lower cholesterol, but Pravachol is the only drug of its kind that's also proven to help prevent both first and second heart attacks, so you can live a longer, healthier life. Talk to your doctor about Pravachol today. Pravachol, a prescription drug, isn't for everyone, including people with liver problems or women who are pregnant, nursing, or may become pregnant. And because serious side effects can result, tell your doctor about any muscle pain or weakness you experience while on Pravachol. Your doctor may do blood tests to check for liver problems. Tell your doctor about any medicines you are taking.
Who says you can't spend a lifetime with your first love?
Pravachol. It's your life. Fight for it.
What's for lunch? Chicken and star soup? Grow up. There's a better tasting soup.
Progresso chicken noodle. All white meat chicken and bigger vegetables. See the difference? This is better. Now, if you could just eat without the bib.
It's time to go to the better taste of Progresso. Sometimes you have trouble sleeping because you can't stop thinking about the tensions of the day. Try new Aluna Sleep. It's not a drug. Aluna promotes a natural sleep pattern in just a few nights. New Aluna. It doesn't make you sleep. It lets you sleep.
Why are people tossing their yellow pages? There's something better. Switchboard.com, a free directory powered by the internet. It's business listings, it's people search, it's maps and directions. It's faster, and it's a smarter way to find everything in your town and places your yellow pages doesn't cover. Don't take our word for it. Listen to your neighbors. Switchboard.com. Think outside the book.
This presidential election has prompted intense scrutiny of the electoral process, including how Americans vote. That is, the actual physical process of casting ballots. The truth is, many different systems are used around the country, and as CBS's Eric Ingberg reports, that could boost demands for more recounts.
Escalation of the historic battle beyond the boundaries of Florida to other hotly contested states in the Midwest and West was on the mind of Republican Party stalwarts today. Scott Reed, who ran the GOP presidential campaign in '96.
You're going to see a very aggressive Republican Party look at a number of other states where this thing was too close to call, and there's a history of voter fraud.
Republicans are focusing on 3 states now in the Gore column: Wisconsin, Iowa, and New Mexico, with 23 electoral votes, looking for irregularities. The inconclusive end of this campaign, coming as high-tech advances sweep across the society, has focused attention not just on the politics of electing a president, but the technology. Elections are run by cities and counties. With limited funds, they cling to old-fashioned polling methods, paper ballots, mechanical lever machines, punch cards used by 37% of voters. The punch card machines, like the ones causing controversy in Florida, were eliminated in New Hampshire years ago because of the potential for error. Some reformers suggest voting by computer or even at home by internet as an improvement.
It's giving you audio and visual feedback.
John Seibel, an expert on elections, says there are drawbacks to all modernization schemes, such as cost and security, and they won't mean better elections.
You can make voting systems that are idiot resistant. You cannot make them idiot proof. If you try to, as a very wise man once told me, if you make something idiot proof, they'll come up with a better idiot.
One reform being advocated is a mail-in ballot that can be sent from home. They used it in Oregon this year, but so many people waited until the last minute, officials won't have a count until after Thanksgiving. Eric Engberg, CBS News, Washington.
There is a potential for more problems as the presidential election process goes along. In just under 6 weeks, members of the Electoral College will meet in state capitals to cast their ballots. Only half the states have laws requiring the electors to cast their ballots for the candidates for whom they are pledged, that is, the ones who won the state. But over the years, only 7 electors have actually gone their own way and never affecting the outcome of an election. On the CBS Market Watch, concerned about the presidential election stalemate sent stock prices plummeting early today, but they regained much of their losses by the closing bell. The Dow finished down 72, the NASDAQ was off 31. Next on tonight's CBS Evening News, a close presidential election and allegations of voter fraud 40 years ago.
Eating Quaker oatmeal actually helps remove cholesterol from your body. I'll let Mr. Fry tell you how good it tastes. I guess actions speak louder than words. Quaker oatmeal warms you heart and soul.
Old English presents Love and Wood. Cynthia just married David. Her furniture is modern. His is traditional. Luckily, the superior protection of Old English is great for all their wood pieces. Will their future shine as brightly as their furniture? Be good to all your wood with Old English.
Oh. Can't sleep, honey? What's the matter? Oh, heartburn. I know just what you need.
Introducing new Alka-Seltzer Heartburn Relief. Faster than Pepcid, Zantac, or even the leading prescription. Alka-Seltzer Heartburn Relief. Cool, effervescent, specially formulated to put out the fire of heartburn fast.
Better, dear.
New Alka-Seltzer Heartburn Relief. Nothing puts out the fire faster.
When we asked some denture wearers why they don't use an adhesive, they didn't have a whole lot to say.
I don't need it. My dentures fit fine, thanks.
I've not had a problem in 15 years.
But then they tried Fixodent, and they couldn't say enough.
Makes them feel a lot more natural. I just plain forget I have them.
They actually fit better.
That's because Fixodent gives even the best-fitting dentures a better fit.
It just proves you never know until you try.
Fixodent, and forget it.
The Italians gave the elegant style. The Germans gave the solid engineering. The combination that deserves all the attention. The affordable luxury, the new Laganza from Daewoo.
I told my father I wanted to grow up to be a teacher. Wouldn't you rather be a doctor? He said. It's a noble profession and you could become wealthy. That may be true, I said. But without teachers, where would doctors come from?
Turning for a moment from the election dispute, today the current occupant of the White House resumed efforts to get the Mideast peace process moving again. President Clinton met with Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat, who later told reporters he remains fully committed to trying to make peace with Israel. America has never seen anything quite like the extraordinary presidential election of 2000, but we might have 40 years ago when allegations of voter fraud came up in another close election. CBS's Phil Jones has some historical perspective on today's news.
In 1960, Richard Nixon decided not to pursue a court challenge of the election that gave John Kennedy a victory. Close aide Herb Klein read the Nixon concession telegram sent to Kennedy.
I know that you will have the united support of all Americans.
Been there, done that, is for sure.
Today's crisis is deja vu for Klein, now 82. He was at Nixon's side in 60.
When we were there, we found that the Republican supporters, the Nixon strong supporters, began compiling evidence that the election had been stolen in Cook County.
Though both parties pointed fingers, Republicans claimed there was enough voter fraud in Illinois, Texas, and Missouri to reverse the electoral vote showing Kennedy the winner. The devastated family pressured Nixon to demand a recount.
He felt that challenging that election would be to look at would be to disrupt the world at a time when we had a Cold War, be disruptive to the United States. Therefore, while he might want to do this personally, it would be bad for the country. It was a very noble decision.
In some ways, Al Gore is facing the same kind of pressure to keep fighting, although so far there is no evidence of fraud. Klein says both men must sit down like Kennedy and Nixon did to deal with the crisis of divided government.
That's the question which both Mr. Bush and Mr. Gore are going to have to consider considerably now, because no matter who wins, this is a divided country as to who's going to rule.
In 1962, Richard Nixon wrote a book he called Six Crises. The 60 campaign was one of them. Now, 40 years later, George Bush and Al Gore have the makings of a similar book. Dan?
Phil Jones, thanks. Some Democrats supporting Gore call the Nixon story false or misleading history and not applicable to the present situation because they say Kennedy's electoral vote margin over Nixon was never hairline close. In a moment, the latest on the election recount of 2000 and where we go from here.
Want to start a family?
Right now?
I just got supplemental insurance.
What's that?
Aflac. Well, if we get sick, our health insurance won't cover things like lost pay or other expenses. This does.
What's it called? Aflac!
I don't know.
Aflac. Without it, no insurance is complete.
So I can order HBO, right?
Yes, sir. Actually, 7 of them.
So it's got a pretty clear picture then?
100% digital quality.
Football?
Up to 13 NFL games every Sunday if you want them.
I love you.
I know, sir.
Now get free professional installation when you buy a DirecTV system and sign up for Total Choice programming.
Hi.
Attention content enthusiasts, come to Contentville. We have content, nothing but content, whatever your passion.
I really like Russian literature. Sometimes I like to bake.
Whatever your interest.
Well, I like to read. Research? I like research.
We sell content you can download, content that comes to your door.
This is different.
Content in all its glorious form.
Content? As in something inside of a content?
No, we sell speeches, screenplays, e-books.
E-books are great.
We ship magazines within 24 hours. We have expert advice from America's leading independent bookstores, experts with independent opinions. We sell legal documents, archives, millions of books, all at great prices.
Oh, really?
Join the multitudes. Come to Contentville, where content is king and readers rejoice.
The 50-state quarter program is one of the most unique programs our country has ever seen.
I think it's one of the best things to happen to corners in decades.
If you want to collect them, the Mint has coin sets and maps to help you get started.
If we haven't gotten to your state yet, you can bet that it's coming.
Every time I tried to quit smoking, I chewed up more pencils. So my doctor gave me a prescription that, for the first time, makes me feel in control of my cravings. Ask your doctor.
Break the habit. The prescription for help is at hand.
Tonight, during our 6 o'clock news, we expect to have the final results of the Florida recount with live reports from Gore headquarters, Carthage, and state Republican headquarters at 6.
So tonight, America stays steady as the presidential election of 2000 remains in limbo. It's likely to stay that way for at least several more days. The probability increases that it'll last longer than that. Here's what we do know so far about the all-important results in Florida. The official recount is not finished. It's also confusing. The official word is that it may not be finished before next Tuesday now, with the deadline for absentee ballots in Florida 3 days after that. For now, election officials in Florida are standing by the original count, giving George Bush a lead of almost 1,800 votes. But an incomplete, unofficial tabulation county by news organizations now shows in the recount Bush with a margin of only a few hundred votes, possibly down to about 360 or 370. That's part of our world tonight. I'll be back shortly with 48 Hours, all about this unprecedented post-election battle for the American presidency. 48 Hours, history on hold, tonight at 8, 7 Central Time. For the CBS Evening News, Dan Rather reporting. See you again soon on the special 48 Hours.
This is CBS.
I looked on the bench and I saw her on the floor shaking.
An amazing story from this Middle Tennessee classroom. These second graders may have saved a life.
Florida's election system is being bashed tonight, but could Tennessee stand up to the same scrutiny? We'll show you why our state election system has some serious problems of its own.
They're still counting votes in Florida tonight, and George Bush's lead is getting smaller by the hour. The news is right here, right now.
The Democrats who are politicizing and distorting these events risk doing so at the expense of our democracy.
More than 100 million Americans voted on Tuesday, and more voted for Al Gore than Governor Bush.
Most of the ballots have been recounted.
But at this point, we still don't have a new president.
from the News Channel 5 Network. This is News Channel 5 at 6.